Okay.
Thomas to the motherfucking Reid.
We handle shit.
Welcome to this ability clinic where, we told you not to go into that house. I'm Dr. Van, a Vietnamese female with long black hair wearing a navy blouse and white stone earrings sitting in front of a bookshelf. Today, we're going to be watching Jordan Peele's Get Out and breaking down the references to racism, ableism, etc., etc. Joining me today is recurring guest in front of the show, Thomas motherfucking Reid, host of Read My Mind Radio, a podcast for people at all stages of blindness and disability. Welcome back to the show, Thomas. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Stephanie, for inviting me. I appreciate that.
Let's do your audio description.
Hey, everybody. My name is Thomas Reid. I am a brown-skinned black man with a smooth-shaven bald head, a neat beard. I'm wearing shades. I'm seated in my vocal booth.
I want to say something about how I'm watching it with audio descriptions.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So this isn't just like any other Get Out breakdown. Oh,
let me just make one little correction. Don't say descriptions. Say description.
Description.
Yeah, it's audio description. There's no S on it. Okay. I don't want nobody making fun of you.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. So this is not just going to be like any other Get Out breakdown that you've seen. This is going to be a Get Out breakdown, including the audio description track. And we're going to be breaking down not only the film and its incredible themes and nuance, but also the quality of the audio description and what it does well and what opportunities might have been missed.
Yeah, let's get into it.
At night, street lamps light a suburban road. A thin young African-American man walks while on his phone. A white sports car passes by. The white car turns around and follows the thin man. He looks over as the vehicle pulls up beside him. The thin man nods at the driver, who sits concealed by darkness.
Okay.
He notices the car's open driver's side door.
Come on, bro. Yo!
A person in a knight's helmet grabs the thin man and holds him in a headlock, holding the man by the shoulders. The attacker drags him back to the white car. The attacker opens the trunk and drops the thin man inside, lifting the victim's leg to fit him all the way. Universal Pictures presents a Blumhouse QC Entertainment production. The attacker gets in the car and drives off. A Jordan Peele film. Daytime. Quick.
All right. What did you think of the opening scene? Like, what feels did you get?
I felt really real for a couple of reasons. When he got off the phone, that talking to yourself, for me, yeah, that would be something that I would be doing. No, I ain't going down that block. Nah, I know what's up there. Nah, so that sort of thing felt very real. Very, I could relate to that. Each of the times that I watched this, I kind of forget about the opening scene. And sometimes it takes me a little bit of while. Like, he's not easily recognized.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because the thing with audio descriptions, it's like you don't get a visual of the face. So it's like, How do you verbally or audiographically give someone a signature kind of description? And in this opening audio description, they describe him as a thin, young African-American man. So he's the thin one, even though there are many other thin people. It's a choice in the movie to kind of draw you into this scene and then immediately forget about it. I don't know if you got from the audio description that this seems to be like a pretty well-to-do neighborhood. Like, the lawns are manicured, the hedges are trimmed. Doesn't seem intimidating, but for him specifically, you know why he's uncomfortable. Like, he seems out of place, I guess.
But that's so funny, because you said it doesn't seem intimidating. When I think of this, I think of situations when I've been in that situation. I remember it was a time where my car, I think I got a flat, and I had to walk through this neighborhood. And, folks would say it was a nice neighborhood. And this was after the Howard Beach incident. This was after Bensonhurst, if you're familiar with those incidents. And so I'm like, no, I'd much rather be in a neighborhood that other folks might not like, because I'm cool here. You know what I mean? In terms of, I know I'm always going to be looking out if I'm going to get robbed or something like that. But I would much rather just get robbed than have to deal with a mob who's going to kill me because I'm in the wrong neighborhood, right? And so I never forget that time, because I ran into, I think I saw a black dude, a brother, and I was like, yo, what part of Queens is this? We good? I think I said it just like that. We good? And he's like, nah, you good, bro.
We'll see a similar interaction when Chris is surrounded by a bunch of white people at the parents' party, and he sees another black person that he feels like, oh, I can connect with this person. Let me have a real interaction. And then it's just totally not what he's expecting.
Again, very relatable. Very relatable. Just ask anybody if one of the examples that's easy is a corporate environment, a school environment. You can pull somebody over and they've been the only Black person in this situation. So yeah.
A couple of things I'll say. The audio description doesn't convey. I think it says a white sports car, but I think you can see the interior of the sports car is black. And so like it's just kind of cool how it's like a white exterior but a black interior. It's like that's already foreshadowing kind of the twist of the movie.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
And then the thin man walking, he's like, it's like a hedge maze in here. And that's a reference to The Shining, which is like a huge influence for
wow, that's interesting. I did. That's funny. I was just talking to my daughter yesterday about The Shining because she just watched it. And I was like, oh, my, I have to rewatch that because, there's so much in there. And I haven't watched it for years. And I'm wondering, and I think they have it with AD. I want to experience it with the AD. So.
Yes. Oh, my goodness. Maybe next Halloween we should write that down.
Oh, yeah.
Black and white photos depict people in urban environments. Music supervisor, Christopher Moliere. Music by Michael Abels. Costume designer, Nadine Haters. The artistic prints hang in an apartment. Edited by Gregory Plotkin. A small fluffy dog lounges on a couch. Production designer, Rusty Smith. Director of photography, Toby Oliver, ACS. In the apartment bathroom, a brown-eyed African-American man faces the steamy mirror. In a bakery, a Caucasian brunette stares at pastry. The brown-eyed man rubs shaving cream on his cheek. Brunette smiles at the pastries. The man shaves his face. The brunette woman leaves an elevator. Produced by Sean McKittrick, PGA, Jason Blum.
What did you get a sense of?
Well, I mean, the stay woke right there, the music in terms of the beginning, the preparation, he's shaving, even that just, presenting yourself, that clean cut imagery that comes across with that preparation for that. One of the things that I just noticed this time is, so there's the different shot with her at the bakery. I guess they're going somewhere, she's buying something. I know that now. What's interesting is that the elevator, so I'm guessing, was she coming back into the apartment or something? So that's that letting you know that, this is a different, an urban environment, right? They're in a building, they're in an apartment building as opposed to the suburban homes and all that.
Oh, that's a nice contrast. I didn't really pick up on that. It's very subtle.
Yeah, it is very so.
I thought it was interesting. They described Chris as a brown-eyed African-American man. Brown eyes, I don't know, brown eyes are so common. Like when I look at the actor who depicts Chris, I'm not like, oh yeah, that's a brown-eyed man. Very dark-skinned. He's got very short hair. I just wonder why they decided to describe him with his brown eyes.
Right. Do they do any sort of close-up on his eyes, or is his face really in terms of the visual aspect?
They're close on his face in the mirror, but not really his eyes. But that's a good point that you bring up, because his eyes actually do become a very important plot point. So maybe that makes sense thematically. Instead of just visually striking, it's also a character trait that becomes important. That's a good point. Right. Did you get a sense for what his apartment looks like? I feel like the audio description didn't really get.
Yeah, no, not at all. I mean, I know he was in a steamy. If they say steamy bathroom, I usually think of a small bathroom. So I know it's pretty small, right?
The bathroom is small, but the apartment's actually very nice. It looks kind of like an urban modern loft. The audio description talks about photographs of people in urban environments, quote unquote. But they look there's some street scenes. There's a pit bull in one of them. There's a pregnant lady in one of them. But unfortunately, the audio description doesn't get the chance to really lay all that out. And they're black and white.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's just in terms of audio description, that's where I advocate for pre-show, right, to give you some of that information that you don't have time to put in there, but that it might be really relevant to the film, to do something like a breakdown.
Do they know I'm black?
No. Should they?
It seems like something you might wanna, mention.
Mom and Dad, my black boyfriend will be coming up this weekend. A black man.
He climbs on top of her.
He said I was the first black guy you ever dated.
Yeah, so what?
Yeah, so it's this uncharted territory for him. I don't want to get chased off the lawn with a shotgun.
First of all, my dad would have voted for Obama a third time if he could have. I'm only telling you that because he's definitely going to want to talk to you about that. Because he's a lame dad more than anything else. They are not racist.
Right.
I would have told you. I wouldn't be bringing you home to them. Think about that for 2 seconds.
Thinking.
Yeah. Good.
It's funny because when I first watched, each time I watched it, I think I was always like, that just doesn't seem real. Even him asking the question, like her response, like, what? Like, why would I have to? Come on. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I know what you're saying, but why? Like, why do we both feel like we're not buying this? But why?
this is America. That's why. How could you be in a quote unquote interracial relationship and not expect to have this conversation when it's time to go meet the parents? Like, to me, that would be a flag.
Oh,
and it ends up that it is a flag, right? So, yeah.
For me, even the first time I watched this, and I think it's supposed to be really subtle at first, but 5 years later, I think looking back, the minute he's like, do they know I'm Black? And she's like, no, it's immediately like, what the hell? Like, you're bringing your boyfriend to meet your parents, but you're denying them knowing a huge part of who he is.
Right.
I felt like that was taking away a part of his humanity and like his personhood. That was the huge red flag for me. It's like, why wouldn't the parents want to know? Like, there's some disconnect, and you don't know what's sinister and what's just kind of like ignorantly racist. And when she insists that like, oh, they're not racist, and that's a little bit more like, okay, we've heard this before, but immediately I was just like, something's not right.
Yeah, I guess the quote unquote believable part is that, oh, okay, colorblind parents and so-called colorblind child that came out of this, I can believe that. But still, the fact that this is like even the first time that they're having this conversation, like, I don't know, it just felt strange. But again, it's not something that stuck with me. It was just like, nah. And then I went on to the next scene and just kind of rode with it.
Oh my God. And we meet Rod, who's like hilarious.
You never take my advice.
What?
Don't go to a white girl parent's house.
She doing licking your balls or something? Yeah, bye.
You know what I'm saying?
Rod looks at his phone.
This motherfucker hung up on me.
You're jealous. It's Rod.
A large animal strikes the SUV and Rose swerves to a stop. The passenger side mirror dangles from the car. Rose and Chris wear shocked expressions.
Yeah, that's kind of shit on me, you.
They get out of the red SUV and inspect the damage. Blood coats the passenger side headlight. Chris peers at the woods behind them.
Stay here.
What are you doing?
He walks back up the road.
I don't know. Well, maybe it's gone,
Chris continues at a careful pace, his eyes fixed on the woods. Rose waits by the SUV. He nears the spot where they hit the animal and turns toward the trees. Chris cautiously heads into the woods. He looks down at a female deer, bleeding heavily from the wound in her side. Chris stares at the helpless animal. Later, he leans on the hood of the SUV. Rose faces a bald police officer.
So in the future, the number to call is...
When the audio descriptor starts talking about the bald police officer, you're still closing in and this camera's focusing in on Chris's eyes, and there's clearly like a deeper meaning and thought process there that Chris is kind of processing something beyond just, oh, they hit a deer. And so that the audio description definitely misses that. And you find out later that it's because his mother died from a hit and run.
Even that part when he was walking to the deer, I was like, are they trying to say something else about this? Because this is going to sound stereotypical, but I don't know no brother who would walk to the deer.
Right, it's weird.
For real, like that's really, wilderness and stuff. Nah, we don't. Again, I know it's stereotypical, but we don't really do that.
Well, I think that's more of a like typical reaction. But I think the movie is already telling us with this lingering moment that, oh, Chris has some sort of trauma or something that's been brought up because they hit the deer.
Yeah, and it was a doe, so a mama deer, right?
I guess so. Yeah. It didn't have antlers.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Broken down. Check.
Rose turns onto a driveway leading to a large 2-story house. She waves to a brawny African-American man who works in the front yard. The man waves back. As they drive by, Chris stares at him.
It's the groundskeeper.
Rose pulls up to the front door and parks the SUV. Chris gazes at her. They grab their luggage from the trunk and walk toward the front door of the lovely brick home. A gray-bearded man and a curly-haired woman come out to greet them.
Oh, this is my dad, Dean. This is Chris.
Oh, kid, you call me Dean and you're hungry, my man. How are you? We're huggers.
As they enter the house, the brawny groundskeeper stares at them from the front yard.
You think it's one thing. Why is the black man staring at the other black man like that, right? And so you kind of thinking, oh, is this sort of a social structure thing in terms of like, class level or something like that? That was the first place I think my head went. But just the meeting of the parents there, you get a little bit of the father, the bro hug, you know, and all of that.
My
And
man.
my man. That was
I know.
that is literally my reaction when I get that too. Yeah, okay.
And one thing you don't get in the audio description, like the audio description, I think is like pulls up to a nice brick house. It looks like a plantation. Like there's columns,
really?
It's symmetrical.
Okay.
It looks like kind of a farm.
Yeah, and that's funny because when it's suburban house and then they say the groundskeeper, I'm like, why do they need a groundskeeper? It's like, how many acres do they have? You know what I mean?
I thought it was interesting. So when the groundskeeper is described, he's described as a brawny African-American groundskeeper or man. And then the parents, gray bearded man, curly headed woman. No race. I don't think it's a mistake or anything. I just wish that like there should be more equality there. It's like if we're pointing out someone who's African American or black, why aren't we pointing out when someone's white?
In this particular situation, that's the case in most instances, I'm going to say. I think I would give them a little bit of leeway here because we already know that the parents are white.
That's true.
And so because of time, you know, you want to reduce the amount of time. So there's no need to do that, because in the beginning when the thin man was walking, they mentioned it several times that he was thin, and I was like, why are they repeating the thin man? Like there's only one person in this scene. They didn't have to keep saying the thin man. And so wondering if there's a reason or if it's just the way it was written. But
maybe it's because to call back when we see him again,
possibly because they weren't giving him a name yet.
Yeah,
didn't have a name. Yeah.
Although in the closed captions it says Dre.
Really?
Yes.
Was his name Dre though?
Yeah, the character's name's Andre.
That's really, really interesting, especially because it's captions, and so they do have a visual reference to the person. He wasn't named yet, right?
Right. So his name is accessible to people who need captions, who like don't have audio, but then it's not accessible to people who don't have the visual component.
Yeah.
It's interesting. And this is like people like will watch things with captions on, even if they're hearing, because the captions will give away some spoilers. Like if you hear a whispery, mysterious voice, like sometimes the character who's speaking will be given away by the captions.
Yeah, that's really interesting because sometimes I'm a proponent for naming the characters earlier than they actually get named. If there's no spoiler, right? This would have been one of those cases where they could have named him Dre as opposed to the thin man.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are choices that, you know, AD writers have to make, and they're not easy. They're not easy. Oh, yeah.
It came out of nowhere. We got it pretty good.
Yeah, it must have freaked you out big time.
Fucking weird. Well, you know what I say? I say one down, a couple 100,000 to go.
Dad.
No, I don't mean to get on my high horse, but I'm telling you, I do not like the deer. I'm sick of it. They're taking over. They're like rats. I see a dead deer on the side of the road. I think to myself, that's a start.
I don't even understand that.
I'm just
sorry.
saying, you know what? I am grateful for what you've done today. I don't like
Yeah, that felt, as we would say, that felt racial.
Yeah. It's not so subtle there, I think.
Yeah. Just get rid of them all.
Oh yeah, and like a lot of people have broken it down and analyzed this where I didn't know this, but unfortunately, like buck is a slur for a black male, and so even though he is specifically talking about deer, I guess in this instance, it's very clear the analogy to black people, and this is like a lot of the same kind of jargon or rhetoric that gets said, like in white supremacist circles, I guess.
I mean, definitely that part, but I don't know if that would be why for me that it was clear that he was talking about black people. I mean, again, it just feels racial because it wasn't a buck. It was a doe.
And I will say you didn't get the audio description of this, but like while Bradley Whitford or Dean Armitage, the father, is talking, the camera pans back to Daniel Kaluuya and Carissa's face, and you just kind of see his smile kind of freeze a little bit, like he's suddenly turned into a mask mode. Like, what the hell is this guy saying? Unfortunately, the audio description couldn't capture that.
She's a therapist, right?
psychiatrist, yeah. Yeah, it turns out people up here are just as messed up in the head as they are in the city. This is Jeremy. Rose's little brother, studying medicine now, wants to be just like his old man. You'll meet him.
All right, cool.
Picked these up in Bali.
Dean touches candle holders.
Such a privilege to be able to experience another person's culture. You know what I'm saying?
Dean points to a photo.
You're gonna love this. My dad's claim to fame was beat by Jesse Owens in the qualifying round for the Berlin Olympics in 1936. Those are the ones where
Always one in front of him.
yeah, what a moment. Hitler's up there with all his perfect Aryan race bullshit. This black dude comes along, proves him wrong.
Tough break for your dad, though.
Yeah. He almost got over it.
like the dad, Dean, praises Jesse Owens and like, you know, he kind of bashes white supremacist stuff, but it's not as if the father is like so much more progressive, as if the father is not just as evil and objectifying people of another race for his use and benefit.
Yeah.
That's the basement. We had to seal it up. Put some black mold down there. My mother loved her kitchen, so we keep a piece of her in here.
A black woman faces them.
Georgina, this is Chris. This is Rose's boyfriend. Hi.
Hello.
Did you catch when Dean mentions the basement and how there's black mold down there?
Oh yeah, the black mold. It's like, whoa. Yeah, yeah.
And did you get the sense when Chris meets Georgina that was something was off?
A little bit. And you're always sort of wondering what's going on there. I default to the class thing. I'm still thinking of class. Like, you know, she's kind of checking him out. Is this an uppity thing? Like, she sounds very uppity. And so I'm thinking,
her voice is strange. The whole like, oh, meet the help around the house. They're both black people. Like, that is off. And then Georgina, she's standing very still in the kitchen, like expecting them to come in. So that's also strange. It's not like she's cleaning or cooking or doing anything normal. And she's just like blankly staring at Chris. And Chris is like also smiling back, but you can kind of tell like something in his mind.
What's going on? Yeah. And again, interesting now that you know, because what did he mention about his mother?
She loved her kitchen so much.
She loved her kitchen.
Piece of her in here.
Yeah, you sure do.
Total privacy.
Dean notices Chris staring at the groundskeeper as they pass by him. The brawny man gives a firm nod.
I know what you're thinking. I get it. White family, black servants. It's a total cliche.
I wasn't going to take you there.
We hired Georgina and Walter to help care for my parents. When they died, I couldn't bear to let them go. By the way, I would have voted for Obama for a third term if I could. Best president in my lifetime, hands down.
I agree.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's just so funny watching it again after because we hired them to care for my parents, and then even when he said when they died, we couldn't bear to let them go. It's just so funny.
Yeah. Like everything has this other totally different meaning.
Yeah. We knew the Obama thing was coming.
Yeah, and it's like out of the blue. It's like they're already talking about how uncomfortable it is that they have black people hired help at their house. And then out of the blue, he's like, I love Obama. It just felt very forced positivity.
Right. But that feels real to me, though. That's what's so funny, because I've met people like that who feel like they have to say, whether it be about black, whether it be about, disability related, the idea of trying to make you feel comfortable, really making you feel uncomfortable as hell. Right.
Yeah. It's so funny that it comes from like obviously a good intentioned place, hopefully. But it does the exact opposite.
It's misinformed.
This does not seem like a new experience for Chris. He's kind of grinning it and bearing it like, yep, I agree. He kind of seems like he's on autopilot, just trying to get through it.
Yeah, and that's the thing that, Jordan Peele would know. Like, we all have multiple stories of that. Like, it just becomes a part of your existence. I know exactly what to expect. And again, I'm going to say that about disability as well. Now, at this point, it's like, okay, are we going to the plot? Okay, here we go. Let me get into the zone, because I know I'm going to have to deal with this, this, and this. And it's like, oh, okay, maybe it's going pretty well. Here we go. Yep. And somebody says something stupid or whatever the case,
Jeremy stares at Chris.
You ever get in street fights as a kid? I did judo after school, first grade.
Aw.
You should have seen me.
Judo is with your frame and your genetic makeup. If you really pushed your body, no pussyfooting around, you'd be a fucking beast.
Chris grins.
Carrot cake.
Ooh.
Hi, carrot cake.
What did I miss?
Oh, a whole bunch of nothing.
We're talking about sports.
Hey, yeah.
I have so many stories of. I'm not a big sports talker. When meeting, especially hanging out with like some white dudes for the first time or whatever, and it's not just white people, but it's definitely white dudes. But no matter how much I say, I don't really watch sports, they will just continue to think and imply that I watch. Like, you have to watch sports. Yeah, again, very, very relatable for me. Again, he seems to be the artist type, so maybe he's not so much into sports because he's not talking about it. And then the part that I like is the mother, carrot cake.
Yeah.
To me, the carrot cake is another little thing about blindness. Carrots and blindness. Come on.
What is the thing with carrots and blindness?
Aren't carrots supposed to be good for your eyes? Eat
I
more
guess I've heard
carrots.
that. Yeah,
Oh
I've
my
heard
goodness. Yeah. That's definitely a thing with this. Oh, you're supposed to
I've
eat.
never picked up on that. That's
Yeah.
amazing. They're
Eat your
already
carrots.
like grooming him to like optimize his physical health. Quitting smoking is the obvious one that they're like trying to groom him, but
yes.
feeding
And which is again has something, with the eyes, not just the health of his body, but there have been people, when vision loss the smoke is actually supposed to be bad for those who are experiencing vision loss and stuff.
Oh,
So,
yeah. I mean, smoke affects like the tiny blood vessels. So your eyes, your kidneys, those are the ones that get hit.
Chris peeks into the hallway. Wearing a hoodie, he walks downstairs. Glancing around, Chris passes through the dark dining room and into the kitchen. Georgina passes behind him, unseen by Chris. Chris steps off the back patio and into the yard. He stares across the wide lawn at the tree line, lit softly by moonlight. Chris digs through his pockets. He pulls out a cigarette, bringing it to his lips, and then pauses. A person sprints toward him from the tree line. The person draws near, revealing himself as Walter. Chris backs away. Walter sprints right up to him, then veers sharply to the right and continues on. Chris spots Georgina and startles. She stands at the back door, gently stroking her face as she gazes at her reflection in the glass. She startles at something and walks away. Georgina passes the back door again, and the kitchen lights go out. Chris enters the house, carefully closing and locking the back door behind him.
When did this come out? Do you remember?
2017.
2017. Okay. So Trayvon Martin. Not too far before that. Just the fact that he was putting on the hoodie, that also stands out to me now that I didn't think about before, him in the hoodie, and the representation of the hoodie and the hood and all that stuff, whatever. And I also like the way they, which sometimes I'm not going to catch, or at least I don't remember now, just the cigarettes in the back pocket. I like that piece of audio description, the way they had that in there, that it was sticking out of his back, giving you some idea that he's going to smoke. But I love the first one. I love stuff like that when nothing really happens. She just walks by, because I love that. And it works. It works with audio description, which is fantastic because, visually it's so cool.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I love that stuff. That stuff is great.
If you think that jump scare was jarring, just wait for the next part of our Get Out breakdown, where things get really effed up. Click that notification bell so you get alerted when the next breakdown drops. While you're waiting for our next breakdown, consider checking out one of our other videos, like my first interview with Thomas, where he talks about his journey with audio description. There's more links and resources down below in the description box. And as always, thank you for watching, listening, and learning.